Going over to the Cultural Pride podcast, you have Target replacing the gay pride displays with USA Pride, also known as patriotism, which is a rare thing these days. Now, this comes to us thanks to End Wokeness on X, and he says, quote, Target replaced their Pride Month aisle with USA Pride. The vibe shift is real. And you can see last year we had Pride for all the family, the parents, the middle school, and even the kiddo. And yeah, famously, Target also had transitional apparel, not the glasses, not the transition bifocal glasses, the actual clothing. Famously, they had a tuck-friendly swimsuit, and that sparked a lot of controversy last year. Now they're saying the vibe is shifting. Maybe Target's becoming more patriotic. I don't think that's the main variable, or main reason why they're doing this. Is because they're being sued. Because again, internal memos from Target. Well, they determined that a couple years ago. They go, yeah, we're gonna do gay pride again. We think we know we're gonna get some backlash. We know we're gonna get some boycotts, and we know it'll cost us money, but we're gonna do it anyway. Which again, they are a publicly traded company. Well, I would say famously also headquartered in the definitely not the great state. When I talk about states, I usually talk about Texas because it's one of the best, obviously. But they're in the very left state of Minnesota, famously headquartered there, and used to be ironically family and religiously owned. But I partially digress. But yeah, Target, they've been served a couple lawsuits because they've done the things that are not aligned to make the shareholders the greatest amount of money. And again, they're publicly traded. Anyone can buy Target stock, not financial advice. It's been crashing like a Boeing airplane lately. But yeah, they got a lot of backlash last year, and a lot of companies are moving away. We've seen a couple outliers, especially if you go on the Facebook. It seems like every city and police and sports balls team, except Texas ones, are putting up things for the Pride Month. But in terms of businesses, most are acquiescing this year. And here you can see the juxtaposition of the two pictures where you see, again, that former Pride gear. Then you see America, which, again, it's only June. And yet people think this is almost, setting up for the 4th of July, where you have, well, almost ironically, because they have, flip-flops that say USA, but there's a 0% chance they're manufactured in the USA because it looks like they're cheap foam, which is usually from China, or Trump would say China. But yeah, they have full-blown displays. Got USA t-shirts, which I hope are made here, but kind of roll the dice these days. I always suggest you check the apparel tag, but usually they are not made here. And yeah, this moderately viral got a couple 100,000 views and 6.1 thousand likes, with one of the first comments coming to us thanks to Gunther Eagleman. And he says, quote, common sense is making a comeback, getting 124 likes. America Pop Bear says, quote, tired of going woke, or going broke from going woke, getting 44 likes. Paul Zupa also says, we're winning the culture back. America is healing, getting 93 likes, which I think it's not just culturally why they're doing this, but also fiscally. They were bleeding money last year, and they're being sued by the shareholders. The investors are pretty irate that they did the things that were not cohesive or actually going against making them more money. They were costing them money. Barefoot Pregnant also says, Target's move proves patriotism still wins when consumers are demanding it, getting 6 likes. Cash Loren says, keep fighting for America. We are winning, getting 3 likes. Mom Dukes says, I honestly doubt Target's sincerity in the change of their attitude, getting 40 likes, which, again, that's a good point. And Wokeness responded saying, who cares? The point is the vibe shift, getting 53 likes. Now, that being said, Target is still, I would argue, pretty controversial culturally speaking, because they allow individuals to use whatever changing room and restrooms that they prefer. Also known as men being, going to the women's restrooms, the change room. So, again, there's still a pretty big point in controversy in terms of I'd say a lot of people's attitudes towards the company. But again, I think it's a good thing. You have Maria Isabella saying, quote, Target was all in on the Pride just a couple years ago. I wonder what changed. Then you have a little meme of a parody of a Target spring collection getting 9 likes. Let's see here. My favorite color is clear set. That's a very interesting profile name. Says, quote, there's no such thing as Pride Month getting 8 likes. Now, we do have a contrarian statement. 24 Coffee Girl 22, long name. She says, quote, they're still woke. This was taken yesterday. It's not in front of the store, but they have Pride. And it looks like it has Pride. It's not the Pride flag, but it's all the Pride colors with the Target logo at the very end. And you have a colorful t-shirt or dress. Muumuu, I think is what they call it. It's kind of an appropriate or good marketing because that's usually who wears them. But, yeah, I guess you can call that Pride in terms of it's almost borderline because it's not an actual Pride flag. It's a rainbow colors. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this counts? Is definitely not as in your face as it was. And you don't see, there's no vernacular, like there's not a specific word on this display that says Pride. I almost think that's a coin toss. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, of course. You also have Deborah Hagen saying, quote, America first always, is a picture of a bald eagle. which ironically, Benjamin Franklin hated he was very much against using the bald eagle. He wanted to use a turkey, but another topic for another time, perhaps. You also have Maria Isabella saying, quote, pride seems to be very much toned down around this year, doesn't it? And she has a juxtaposition of two logos, rather logos from 2024, juxtapositioned to logos in 2025, where major companies including Apple, IBM, Hewlett Packard, American Airlines, Paramount, and Vogue in 2024, they were all pride. In 2025, none of them changed their logos. I was very shocked this year, especially on LinkedIn. I could only find two major technology companies that did change their logos to trans flags this year. One was Cognizant, which is one of the largest outsourcers of IT, or sorry, it's Accenture. They're both major outsourcers of IT. And then the other one would be Optiv. They're headquartered in Colorado. I'm a little biased because they're a competitor, but they're a value-added reseller and managed service provider in the technology industry. But thus far, those are the only two major tech companies I've seen. And even non-tech, most of the big ones, have not changed their logos, which being in sales inevitably and being an entrepreneur, I spend a fair amount of time on LinkedIn. And yeah, for 5 to 10 plus years, nearly every Fortune 500 company would change their logo. They would put out actual posts on the LinkedIn. And again, this year, last year is about 50%, take rate in terms of those companies doing it. This year, I would suspect less than maybe 1%. Like it's astronomical how much of a drop off there was this year. This also goes for their accounts on X, and I need to examine their Facebook pages, but I would suspect Facebook as well. Now, you also have Philip Lip saying, quote, people are tired of the LGBTQ being shoved in their faces. Keep your sexuality to yourselves behind closed doors. Getting 21 likes. Going down more and more. Johnny X says, quote, still seeing it online though. And he goes to Target.com, and they do have a product collection in which they actually, spelled out literally. It looks like they have categories for pets, LGBTQ pets, home, stationery, music, apparel, accessories. They got 5 likes. Yim Strat says, don't trust them. They did the unthinkable. They featured 2 white people. And which, in advertisements, you haven't seen that since the 1980s, 90s. Joe Biden famously joked about that when he was in office. But yeah, that's why I have displays of a vintage Nintendo, NES, as well as Nintendo 64. And the Nintendo NES is a very unusual display on the backside of the display box because it actually has a white family, all happy and playing video games together, which again, modern advertisements, that is exceedingly rare. That also got 11 likes. So it'll be interesting to see how much Target continues to kind of pull back. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think they'll make more money this year because of it? Do you think maybe it'll backfire in terms of maybe they'll be protested by the leftist or, LGBT because they're upset that it's not in the very front of the store being displayed? What are your thoughts? Let me know, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.